Blooded Strand cracks immediately. Grabbing basic island. Casting Ponder. Top 3 cards. From there, draws a Pontus starts his turn, plays basic mountain, follows up the Goblin Guide, the classic. Has Jonatan stacked his ponder correctly? Um, Either he did not have any lands on the top 3 cards of his on as the top 3 cards of his library, or you would have to question that ponder. However, he gets another chance to trigger this Goblin Guide as a brainstorm. As long as he has enough lands in hand. Usually is not a problem. Let's back Tropical Island after putting back what I believe was a Snapcaster main. Make full use. Goblin Guide, I believe. Always a good trick. Swift Spear, Swift Spear. Back for 4. Feeling of Tropical Island. Words to Plowshares gets the Goblin Guide. And Jonatan goes down to 14. It's hard to see. We are being rejoined by Casper just as Jonatan casts an Uro.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, Uro against Burn. I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Gaining life is modern Burn's biggest weakness, and I believe it still holds true for Legacy. I know Theodore somewhat from previous tournaments as well, or Pontus even.
Pontus.
Okay, I thought he was playing a Theodore. Never mind. I know Pontus as well, actually, from previous tournaments, and he has performed quite well, from what I have heard. I have not met him myself, but he seems like a good player. He's in top 8, so he has to do something right. But is his burn spells enough to take out Jonatan?
Yeah, one of the tactics used, especially against various forms of life gain in modern, um, is that in modern, Burn will sometimes play cards that prevent the gaining of life in the main deck, such as Bowcrack. Don't know if the same is true Legacy. I guess we could try and find.
Decklist.
Yeah.
Perhaps even he could play stuff like.
But yeah, here comes the Uro.
Like Sulfuric Vortex, probably. That's a lazy card.
Yeah, Sulfuric Vortex is a classic burn card. Would not put it past Pontus to play such a solid burn card. which of course both deals 2 damage to each player in their upkeep. Or, yeah, deals 2 damage to a player in their upkeep and prevents the gaining of life. Currently, the hand seems to consist of Chain Lightning, as well as Exquisite Firecraft. I believe from a core set. It's from the core set, specifically. But yeah, an uncounterable burn spell. So no real way to prevent the life gain off the arrow. However, an army of Swift Spears potentially capable of jamming a lot of damage even through an arrow. So deal 6 damage to Jonatan here, taking him to 5 actually, I believe. I'll make sure to make sure. I'll make sure
this
to.
down.
Yeah.
Right now, Pot is going down from having 3 Swift Spear to just having the 1. He is a bit empty-handed. He has, I believe that's 2 cards, maybe 3. So we'll see if he can do anything against this big threat of a Uro just attacking him.
Now there is that exquisite Firecraft. The deck also runs cards like Fire Blast that sack 2 mountains for its casting cost. It's capable of doing a lot of damage, but it's hard to see. Hard to see how to do it when Uro's gaining all this life every turn. So Pontus's deck contains a single copy of Roiling Vortex, which seems to be the only way to prevent the gaining of life. So that singleton copy of Roiling Vortex could potentially what he needs, but it's also very difficult facing down a 6/6 and a 4/4. Try and just sort of prevent the gaining of life. At that point, you might take so much damage that you just you just die trying to. Here you see him trading off with an Omnath, or well, attempting to. Jonatan fetches in response. Getting a bit of life. Trades off. Pontus passes the. Jonatan untaps. Attacks with the Uro. Draws a card, goes to 15. Pass to Fairy Time Raveler.
Here comes that Uro again, gaining a bit of life.
Pontus here on the 6 cards. Jonathan seems to be settling for his 7. Chain Lightning, Fountain, Rift Bolt, Firecraft, Fountain, Monastery Swiss Spear, and Mystery card.
And
Puts back what I believe to be a Rift Bolt, Mountain, Monastery Swiss. Jonathan heads to 19. Draws Swords to Plowshares. Always a welcome matchup.
Yeah, totally.
Roiling Vortex has arrived. Pretty important card, especially when Jonathan is trying to sort of very controlling. Really need to put a clock on something, not care about Roiling Vortex, and Jonathan's deck is pretty low. And Swords to Plowshares here. Interesting to see whether he fetches, or well, actually, it's always interesting to see to what extent somebody respects price of progress. But here you just gotta fetch them.
Yeah.
In order to be able to cast your first Plowshares. So price of progress, of course, is a very important card for the burn deck in a lot of matchups, but also this one. Deals 2 damage for every non-basic land each player controls.
Very strong card.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Currently dealing 2 to Jonathan.
Yeah. It quite quickly outvalues a bolt in this format. Very, very.
There's a Chain Lightning at the top of the hand. I believe some other Lightning Bolt variants might be there with it. Starts off the Chain Lightning, takes Jonathan 17, follows up the Chain Lightning. Head on over to 11. And passing of the turn might be not a land left in his deck, or left in his hand. It may be an Exquisite Firecraft, for example. What was a good last burn spell to have? Very Time Raveler. Funnily enough, Burn is probably one of the matchups where Teferi is impactful. Other than shutting down instant burn spells, really doesn't do much, and Pontus seems to be just going face here. Taking Jonathan 8 life. Jonathan casts a Ponder. Decides to shuffle. Disposable. Is a Flusterstorm. Potential counterspell for burn spell, but not for the Goblin guy.
Totally anybody's game at this point. Like Jonathan being down to 8 and us being up to 22 doesn't really do anything because Jonathan wins regardless if he wins. But really all about what spells Pontus has.
Yeah. And if
That's
you're
double goblin guy.
very good, if you're Jonathan here, you're really desperate for some kind of way to gain life. Um, Especially since there are certain burn spells that Jonathan really can't get around. Cards like Exquisite Firecraft can't be countered. Um,
Oh, he allows it.
yep. Two Goblin Guides currently in play.
Very interesting.
Both
Very
attack.
interesting. Both attack face.
Two lands for Jonathan.
Goes up to 24 and he takes a 2.
Of course, one of the hidden weaknesses of Goblin Guide is the existence of Brainstorm.
That's a good hand. That's a really good hand against burn spells.
Yeah. And here
and
comes
the
our...
of course. Quite unfortunate for Pontus. Looks a bit disappointed.
Marcus. Returns the arrow to hand.
Fair play. And passes. Plus the fairy. Because it targets, right?
No, the plus doesn't target, the minus.
No,
targets.
right, yeah. The plus is that your opponent can't cast instants.
No.
Is that passive?
So the passive
No,
is your
yeah,
opponent can't.
it's that you can cast sources as instants.
Exactly.
That's the plus.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Got it mixed up. Sorry.
So like I said, the passive is that your opponents can't cast sorceries at instant speed, and the plus, you can cast instants at instant. Those are the abilities of Teferi Time Raveler. The minus is that you return a creature to hand and then return it to the battlefield.
You said that you cast instants at instant speed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's why it's so good.
it seems broken.
Yep. So the Exquisite Firecraft does what it does best, resolves, taking Jonatan to three life. And here comes Fire Blast, but in response, the Flusterstorm. Yeah, Pontus potentially had lethal there. That Flusterstorm really hampered the plans, and from here, the Omnath
Surely the game isn't 0-0.
takes Jonathan. No, Jonathan is up one game. That is correct.
Okay.
But yeah, so the Omnath comes in. The Rift Bolt gets put on suspend. But as we know, Jonathan has a litany of lands to play, and will be gaining a lot of life from here. He goes to 11. Oof. Here comes the Burrow, taking him to 14. Dragon card, playing a second land drop, which will generate more mana. And we are living the dream, as they say. Uro Omnath. We really have. I mean, we're one Oko away from just living it. And Pontus picks up the cards, understanding that